Okay, today we cover two subjects. One is Jesus' ministry in Galilee, and also cover Herod the Great and his family. Hey, what happened here now? I can't click my internet connection is unstable. You guys hear me? For whatever reason.
Yes. We could.
Okay. Sea of Galilee, which is also known as Lake Tiberias or modern day name Kinneret. It's not really a sea. It's a freshwater lake in northern Israel. It's in the Reef Valley, so it's below sea level. The surface is currently around 690 feet below sea level. So the second lowest lake in the world. Of course, the lowest is Dead Sea, further downstream. The surface actually is almost near all-time high. It was low when we were there because they had drought. The two past winter, including the current one, a lot of rain. So they're filling up. One more storm and they will overflow. It's relatively small, 13 mile by 8 mile. And about from California, it's about 1/3 the area of Lake Tahoe, similar geography. What flows into it is called the Jordan River from the north. Also, it flows out is also called Jordan River in the south. The economy is mainly tourism and also fertile farmland around agriculture and fish. As you see, the red-bellied tilapia. Tilapia is the world's most abundant freshwater fish. This particular hybrid red-bellied tilapia is also called St. Peter's fish by local restaurants. I guess they got that's what Peter used to fish in the Sea of Galilee. And we'll talk about fishing boat here on the model of fishing boat here. We'll talk about that later. And Tiberias is the largest city on the coast, and it's short from 5 miles away. Okay. Jesus started his ministry by first stopping by the Jordan River to be baptized by John the Baptist. And since the time of Byzantine time, Justinian, they have identified a particular area currently in Jordan, just north of the Dead Sea on the Jordan River, as the original site where John the Baptist is. And of course, across the river at the other side near Jericho, that's two names. I have no idea how to pronounce those. Okay, these are Arab names. And before 1967, both sides were part of the Kingdom of Jordan. And then after 67, Israel occupied the West Bank. And so that particular site, Yahud, I guess, became frontline between Israel and Jordan. And Israel had military activity all the way around. So pilgrim can't go there. So what happened is Israeli government, actually the Ministry of Tourism, in cooperation with the local kibbutz, developed a new site, Yardenit, just south of Sea of Galilee, also on the Jordan River, as an alternate site. So this site was never known as the site of John the Baptist or Jesus' baptism. But it's decorated, the walls are decorated with a passage from Mark chapter 1, 9 to 11. And they're in all kinds of languages. Okay, we saw Chinese there and Aramaic somehow. The Aramaic language plaque is also donated by the Christian Cultural Society of Hong Kong, some kind of Catholic society. And yeah, attract about almost 500,000 visitors annually. And what happened is the visitor center, they have changing room, and they have souvenir shop, and more importantly, they sell or rent the white baptismal gown. So everybody that goes in the water has to wear one of those. That's how Jews make money. Yeah. So this is not the real one, but yeah, you can see that there's a dam up here. Right there upstream is the Sea of Galilee. So this is part of Jordan River. It's nice. Water is a lot cleaner than the one downstream. And Cana, this is the site of Jesus' first miracle. You know what the first miracle was?
Water.
Water into wine.
Yeah. Wine. Water into wine.
So we saw some water jar on exhibit. I'm not sure what the original one looked like or how big they were. Cana is 4 miles northeast of Nazareth, about 16.5 miles from Capernaum. And by the 4th or 5th century, there was a synagogue there. Now is they built the church on top. The latest version is 19th century, 1881. That's this one. And also is run by the Franciscan. This is the Franciscan friar, and there's their logo. Okay, as I said, the local population is mostly almost all Arab, and about 11% of those Arabs are Christian. Like this brother and sister teenagers, see they have a picture of Jesus as king. They can't turn water into wine, but they can turn US dollar into pomegranate juice. For a tiny cup is $3. Back to Sea of Galilee. This is the view of Sea of Galilee from the Mount Arbo, which is here, a picture from the sea, is the highest peak around the Sea of Galilee. And looking around here, this is Capernaum. Jesus, I guess, base of his ministry is 5 miles away. And further closer, a bit closer, is another 2 holy sites. We'll like 3 holy sites we'll look at later. Our hotel is somewhere here, and the pier is there, and that's the pier. Next to our hotel is this building right there. This building is a small museum run by the local kibbutz, which also runs our hotel. Kibbutz is a Hebrew word for as commune, collective, socialist kind of organization. I guess Chinese would be called 人民公社. They have discovered a 1st century boat about 27 feet long, and the nickname, people kind of call it the Jesus boat, because that's the kind of boat Jesus probably used, or actually used by Jesus' disciples fishing on the lake. You can see it's kind of not a small rowboat, but not a big ship. It has a mast for single sail. 6 oars. Typically, I guess 4 to 6 fishermen work on this boat. There's a cargo hold down here for fish. And if the cargo hold's empty, I guess Jesus and all his 12 disciples can ride in this boat. And you saw a story that Jesus at one time was sleeping at the stern of the boat. I guess instead of sleeping here, probably slipped down in the cargo hold and rest his head here. Somebody's feedback. Okay. And the disciple James and John's family owns one of these, and they have a higher hand they need, they hire people to work for them on the boat when fishing is good. Simon Peter also has one, but didn't talk about he has any higher hand. So I don't know whether they come in different size and shape. But that's what the Sea of Galilee first century boat looked like. And now Capernaum. This was Jesus' home base, out up there in the northwest coast of Sea of Galilee. And
no, I don't have the audio.
You don't have the audio? You can't hear me? Uh-oh. Can anybody else hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so problem happened to be local. Anyway, okay. Capernaum is here, and Jesus left Nazareth and moved here, as it's stated in Matthew chapter 4. And his first 4 disciples, Peter and brother Andrew, and James and brother John, came from Bethsaida, further northeast of here, but they moved to Capernaum. Reason is probably Bethsaida is only 4 miles away, but it's across the Jordan River. The Jordan River is somewhere, the northern section of the Jordan River, just out of the map, somewhere flow from north into here. And if they're on the other side, it's like a different district. And if they fish from there and try to sell in Capernaum, they carry the fish over and they have to pay a custom, a tax. So it's cheaper for them to move here and work from there and sell fish locally. So Peter owns a house very close to the synagogue. We'll talk about that, what Jesus taught. It is a society with some people who has more money than others, I guess. So it's not a equally poor and whatnot. We see some notable wealthy person, or at least a lot above average. There was an unnamed nobleman whose son was cured by Jesus, like remotely, as we call it in John. Jesus was in Cana, like about 16 miles away, and he told him, yeah, your son is well now. Go home. Levi is a tax collector, used to sit as a booth in Capernaum to collect tax. Later on, he became Matthew, the gospel writer. There's a Roman centurion who funded the synagogue. And Jesus healed his servant. There's a Jairus, the presiding officer of the synagogue, probably the same synagogue, whose daughter was raised from the dead by Jesus. So these are the notable people. So this is not a very small town. It's sizable enough to have so many different wealthy people. Capernaum, as a holy site today, is started with a Franciscan who purchased the land around the ruined synagogue back in the late 19th century. And then they start excavation around the synagogue. And in 1968, discovered a so-called first century house. They call it Peter's house. And now the whole place is called Capernaum Town of Jesus, and it's run by the Franciscan Custody Holy Land, tour site. They charge a small admission to go in to see the places. So one of the famous places to see is a synagogue in Capernaum. That's what it looked like. This was a synagogue built in the Byzantine era. Probably most of these were constructed in about the 5th century or so, but they probably started construction about around 3rd century, late Roman time. And it is constructed with import white limestone. All these are limestone. You see here, well, the pavement here is modern, but they try to match the old way. So all these are white limestone, and it's different than the ruin of an older one, because the synagogue was built on top of a much older, probably 1st century, even older synagogue, and they were constructed with a local stone basalt So two guys were pointing out there's a line there somewhere between the white limestone and the darker stone. Not a geologist, I couldn't tell the difference, or I'm not an archaeologist. But this is what the local stone look like. It's a much darker basalt. So what happened is you can say, okay, this is a 5th century synagogue, but during Jesus' time, there was a similar synagogue exists on the same location. So what's across the synagogue on the other side? Now they built it's called Memorial Church. That's what it looked like, a very modern church. And this is the front view. This is side view as view from the synagogue. You can see some of these foundation down here is much darker than the white limestone on top. So you know, like this part is darker. And the church is built in 1990 on top of a ruin of a octagon shape 5th century church like this. There's a wall, somehow it's double, the foundation has double wall, two walls of octagon circling each other. And beyond that is a curved circular structure. And some of these were probably, octagon churches were built in 5th century. Some of these were probably in 4th century, and they all surrounded something that further down. And when they excavate that down, it's a 1st century house. They said it's a typical of a nice above average house. They have a house built around a courtyard, open courtyard. And typical, probably built with local stone like this, dark basalt stone, and has a wood and a straw roof, which probably, you know, fell apart a long time ago. That's what it looked like. And it's right on the west side of the synagogue. And as recorded in Mark, it says, and immediately, it's after the service in the synagogue, Jesus left the synagogue and entered the house of Simon and Andrew. Oh, what does immediately mean? Like 2 steps across or 5-minute walk? Well, I don't know. Immediately is a very, is an adverb that Mark used a lot. So they think, okay, so close, immediately. This must be Peter's house, right across the street from the synagogue. And the memorial house, of course, has a hole in the middle covered with glass that you can look down into there. And another story about Capernaum is there were paralytic person, can't walk. His 4 friend carrying him to see Jesus and couldn't enter the house because it's so crowded. They climbed on the roof, took the roof apart and lowered him from the roof. Well, they didn't say that was Peter's house or not. But if it was Peter's house, then imagine yourself standing up here as one of the 4 friends and lower the guy down from there into Peter's house where Jesus was preaching. So think of it that way. So people were all standing around looking down. No, that was Capernaum. And there are 2 places. Actually, it was a place called Tapha, which is not really a word that appears in the Bible. I think Wikipedia said the name came from the Greek name Heptagon. So Tapha, meaning 7 springs. And 2 places call themselves Table of the Lord, or Mensa Domini in Latin. This is one of them, the Church of Multiplication of Loaves and Fish. Jesus fed 5,000 on a, I guess it's on the grass slope somewhat above the water, so a little bit from the beach. This place is about 1.6 miles southwest of Capernaum, still along the coast, but not at the beach, a little bit inland. And right now is operated as a German Benedictine order. It's a property of the German Association of the Holy Land. Okay, this is not a Franciscan. And the style is built as a Neo-Byzantine style church, very modern, 1982. The first church was built here around 350 AD. They have, I guess, remodeled it. And what's most famous is there's a mosaic, 5th century mosaic here that shows loaves and fish. I'm not sure whether it's 5 or 4 loaves. Most people said that only look like 4. But of course, only 4 because the 5th one, Jesus was holding it up and giving his blessing. So that's the story. And this is a traditional site where Jesus fed 5,000. So there's also an exposed bedrock here. And so that piece of rock is called Table of the Lord. Now, is this the right place? It's only, if you look at the gospel, John, that I guess Pastor Park preached on last week or the week before. Last week, that after this miracle, my internet's unstable. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Oops. Oops. Okay. After the miracle, Jesus told the disciples, why don't you guys go ahead of me? And he went up to a hill and prayed. And somewhere during the night, disciples ran into trouble and he walked on water to meet them. So the Gospel of John kind of implied that the destination is Capernaum. But Capernaum is only 1.6 miles away. And the NIV and the ESV all said that the disciple rode for 3 or 4 miles and couldn't make any headway. So probably that's not the place if Capernaum is the destination. But you look at Mark chapter 6, it seems like Jesus told them to go to Bethsaida, which is 6 miles away. So if they only made it 3 to 4 miles, that's kind of reasonable. And especially Bethsaida is northeast of this. And we live in Southern California, we know that Santa Ana wind, can be very strong. And the climate in the Holy Land is very similar to Los Angeles. So you run into Santa Ana wind, it's very possible that this is the place for the feeding of the 5,000 as the disciple run into Santa Ana wind. So it's possible. But somebody else also said, it's on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, on the east side. I think Pastor Eng will also touch on this today. So you'll listen to his sermon carefully. Another place, called Table of the Lord is the Church of Primacy of St. Peter. And it's right on the beach, on the shore of Sea of Galilee. And this is a Franciscan. They start building in 1933, they built a chapel here over the ruin of a 4th century church. This, by tradition, was where Jesus fed 7 disciples, as recorded after the resurrection, as recorded in John chapter 21. This is the place that Jesus asked Peter, do you love me more than these? These means breakfast served on this piece of rock, cooked fish. And then after that, Jesus commissioned Peter, said, feed my sheep. So this piece of rock is also called Table of the Lord, or this sign here means Table of Christ. So 2 places very close together, both called Table of the Lord. And more picture. This is a picture of the primacy of St. Peter. It's very close to the beach. And it's actually, that piece of bedrock is huge, about the size of this chapel. And if Jesus was standing up here somewhere, You can see him offshore easily. And the other place, the multiplication of loaf and fish, the church. They're more, okay, that's the mosaic. It's all roped off. I couldn't get any closer. There's some mosaic on the side that I can get closer. They can see birds and other natural things like, yeah, trees and plants. So that is the place where Jesus fed 5,000 and then 7 disciples. Up on the hill is the Church of Beatitudes. This is the traditional place that Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount. It's about a mile up. The church is built in 1938. It's an octagon shape. You know, one side, 2 sides, 3 sides. You can see 3 sides from the front, the 2 on the side, and 3 on the other side. You look inside, that's what it is. It's octagon shape. And it symbolizes 8 blessings, as that beatitude start with blessed are whoever, you know, 8 of those. And it's operated by Franciscan mission sisters. I guess it's associated with Franciscan of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, an order from Italy. And it's a very beautiful place, garden all around, and a little bit above here, like the place we're looking down on this church. Yeah, there are meeting places in the garden for group meeting. So even though we are not Catholic, we got a place. Yeah. Pastor Choi usually preach 1 or 2 sermons per day during our 11-day tour. Okay, so that was for all of Galilee. Now we go to a different subject. We look at King Herod the Great. Who's he? In the New Testament, we always hear King Herod, King Herod. Actually, there are a whole bunch of Herod. Okay, there's King Herod the Great and his descendant, also named Herod. So we'll go over one by one who these Herods are. King Herod, okay, first King Herod is the Great, one on top, okay? He was the one that during Jesus' birth ordered the massacre of baby boys 2 years and younger. So that was, we call him Matthew II. And when he died about 4 BC, his kingdom was split into a tetrarch, or 4 kings. Okay, actually 3 of his sons inherit different regions of his kingdom. And also his younger sister inherit a tiny piece of his kingdom. So he's a tetrarch. And then one of his sons, Herod Antipas, who ruled Galilee and Perea. We don't really care about where that is. So the Bible recorded him a lot because he was the ruler of Galilee. The other rules, this guy, Archelaus, rules Judea, Samaria directly, including Jerusalem, except that he was deposed by Romans and replaced with governor. And we hear about Pilate, Felix, Festus, another governor. So he was gone in like a few years. And another brother, Herod Philip, ruled the regions of north and west of Galilee, the Gentile area. So we are interested in Herod Antipas. Now, he was the one that executed John the Baptist and later on presided over, he judged Jesus before crucifixion, as recorded in Luke. Now, he was not the king in the Jerusalem area. That was run by Pilate as a Roman governor, but he had his, I guess, his one of his palaces there, and he happens to be in town, so that Pilate sent him Jesus over to be judged by Herod Antipas. What was John the Baptist accusing him of? It's kind of a very funny family thing. he married Herodas, who used to be the wife of another Herod, his half brother. So that was against Moses' law. Not only that, Herodas was actually his niece, is the daughter of another brother. So they're keeping all these things within the family. They're basically marrying within the family. So more than that, I think Herod's mother was actually, remember I said Herod the Great, one part of his kingdom was left to his sister. Well, actually Herod's mother is the daughter of that Herod the Great's sister. So basically, this guy married his first cousin, gave birth to Herodas, which married 2 different uncles in succession. And man, John the Baptist started preaching against him. He was so mad, so he ordered eventually from the word of Herod's daughter, Salome, and had John the Baptist executed. That was the story. So next generation, Herod Agrippa I. Didn't say anything about him in the Bible, only one place. It was that he did not give glory to God because people were praising him and he was enjoying being called a magnificent and mighty and whatnot. So God struck him dead. That was recorded in Acts. So he passed the throne to his son, Herod Agrippa II, who married his sister, Bernice. So there are a lot of incest within the family. And he was the one that judged Paul along with his wife and with also Governor Festus here in Caesarea, as recorded in Acts chapter 25, 26. We'll talk about that later today. So going back to the man on top, who was King Herod the Great? Well, he was Edomite, not quite Jewish, but he converted to Judaism and became king of Judea and as a vessel of the Roman Empire. So Roman kind of like let him rule instead of appointing governor and run all the detail. So, and he was very good as a politician. To the Jews, he pretended to be a protector of Judaism. He actually followed Jewish dietary laws, give money, support synagogue, and he rebuilt the temple. We'll look at the temple next slide. And at the same time, he's admired of Greek and Roman culture. And he's very intelligent, he's visionary, he's efficient administrator. He runs his kingdom well. So he saved money in places that he can save and use the money to start his building project, we'll see. At the same time, he's very jealous, distrustful, and even ruthless. That's why he killed all the baby in Bethlehem. He has many wives, okay? In the chart, previous chart, we saw 4 of his 10 wives, okay? He executed one of them, executed 3 children on suspicions of some kind of insurrection. And he was, by the end of his rule, he was despised by the Jews that he ruled. But okay, he's a great builder. He built many, okay? He rebuilt and remodeled and enlarged the second temple in Jerusalem. He built a harbor in Caesarea. We'll talk about that. He also built a fortress out in the desert, Masada. And the last project, he built his palace up on the hill. Actually, not a hill. He made a hill, man-made hill, south of Jerusalem and Bethlehem. And it was a palace, fortress, and mausoleum. He planned to have himself buried there. Archaeology looked for his burial ground, couldn't find anything. Up on Herodium, his fortress and mausoleum, that's what the top should have looked like. I don't think he ever finished it. And they found pieces of his coffin, as a sarcophagus, and broken. into pieces. No body, no bone, nothing. I guess the Jews hated him so much that somebody broke into his mausoleum and just broke this thing and threw his body out. So that was it. Okay, his greatest project is the second temple. It's Jesus' time. This, we read about the second temple was constructed by returned exile, and the leadership is Zerubbabel, Ezra, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, all those prophets. And on and off for almost 50 years. And there was a temple on a hill. And in fact, it was smaller than Solomon's temple. People wept looking, oh, that's all we can build. But anyway, Herod enlarged it a lot. Okay, so he built retaining wall all around and filled the whole place up with dirt, packed them flat. So that's a lot of work just to make these big pieces. And then he built on top of it. And total project employed 10,000 skilled laborers, plus they have to train 1,000 Levites to remodel the holy place, this holy sanctuary, and then the Holy of Holies inside. Well, ordinary people not allowed to work on it, so they have trained 1,000 Levites just to do that. This is actually a model, 150 scale model of the entire old Jerusalem, not just the temple, and used to be in a hotel. It covered about 22,000 square feet. And then they moved into the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. So it's a huge thing. People walk around it. And this is the model of the second temple. Okay, so look at this. This temple was completed in 11 BC, okay, before Jesus was born. And we heard about Jesus' disciple, when accompanied Jesus to Jerusalem and saw this and told Jesus, look, Rabbi, look how magnificent the temple is. That's what this place is. And it's divided inside. There were colonnades and a big empty square. We hear about Jesus, or later on, the apostle John and Peter were teaching the multitude. That's where they were, in the shade area where people can gather, and that was where they were preaching and teaching. And out in the place, anybody, all these outer area, anybody can enter, including Gentiles. It's called Court of Gentiles. And it turned into a city's market square. Merchants bring things here to sell. And you heard about Jesus, and all people were selling animal meant for to be sacrificed, exchanging money and doing other business there. And Jesus kicked them all out and says, this is my Father's house. It's a place for prayer for the nation. So this is a Gentile place. And then the tiny line here, you see this dotted thing on the ground? That's the line that Gentiles are not supposed to cross. They're not supposed to approach the holy place. And inside here, it's called women's court. It's not really restricted to women, but that's as far as that's a limit that women can go. Women can go in here, I guess, with the family, and usually when a Jewish family come here to bring peace offering, they can sit together and eat the meat from the peace offering. So it's kind of like family picnic at the church kind of thing, activity. And further in, it's called Israel. Okay, this place is only Jewish men who bring offering, a sacrifice, can go in, whether it's offering, burnt offering, sin offering, or peace offering. You go in there and bring it and give it to the priest, and watch the priest burn it on the altar there. And for peace offering, you can bring the meat back out and eat with your family. This is known as the beautiful gate, or something, or later we call the Golden Gate. And Jesus probably entered this gate on Palm Sunday into Jerusalem, or directly into the temple. We also hear about Apostle Peter and John using this gate. The gate is now permanently, it's not even here. The gate, the current Golden Gate is further up to the north that way. And it's permanently sealed. There's a fortress, Roman fortress. Roman guard can stand up there. They usually do not enter the temple, but they can see everything in the temple. If there's any riot or any kind of insurrection, they can go there and squash it immediately. And that's what happened when Jews tried to kill Paul in here. The Roman immediately sent guard in there and rescued him. Then there is a wall. Josephus called this the third wall, as opposed to the first wall, second wall, and third wall. So during Jesus' time, this wall has not been built yet, and that everything here is considered outside the city. And by tradition, Jesus was crucified somewhere out here and buried somewhere out here. And that's where the Church of Holy Sepulchre now stands, as part inside the city, but at Jesus' time, it was outside the city. So Herod the Great, King Herod the Great, rebuilt the temple, second temple, to please the Jews. At the same time, he built Caesarea to please the Romans. This is the very Caesarea by the coast of Mediterranean, about 32 miles north of Tel Aviv, is dedicated to Caesar Augustus, who's the patron and actually more the boss of King Herod. It's designed from the beginning as a Roman city with a Roman theater, temple, and aqueduct, and all that stuff. Very typical of a Roman city. This is what it looked like first century, and built mostly as a port city with protective barrier against storm, and pier inside so the ship can unload and load cargo. And Herod did a very great job as administrator, and the tax collected by the harbor paid for all his construction. So he kind of like give the offer this city to the government of Rome. You can still see the pillar of the Temple Augustus standing here or back there. Part of the harbor is still visible. And it's, yeah, the two jitters that came out here to protect the harbor. And the Roman theater still standing and used as a concert venue. We were there while the sound crew was tuning up the sound system, very, very loud. And back there is the minaret. Okay, that's the 19th century thing built by Bosnian Muslims as they leave the Austria Empire and move over here. In the book of Acts, well, there's a Roman centurion called Cornelius who lived here and asked Peter to visit him and listen to, preach to him, and converted by Peter. And that trip from where Peter was in Joppa, that's very near, it's right in the middle actually of modern day Tel Aviv. It was 32 miles away and took Peter 1.5 days to accompany Cornelius' servant. So that's kind of consistent with the distance. And Paul was imprisoned for 2 years after they rescued him. The Romans rescued him from Jerusalem. And he traveled here on horseback under guard in less than 24 hours. So it's also consistent with the distance. This is the way it looks like now. It's Roman aqueduct from the north, sunken part of the Jeddah for the harbor. Now it's sunken into the Mediterranean. This was the spot that Paul was on trial here in front of two governors, Felix and Festus. And there's still some building decoration of the building that was probably what they looked like back then. Now Herod built the temple for the Jews, Caesarea for the Romans, and then he built this fortress, Masada, for himself. He was, the Masada's fortress is about 12 miles east of Dead Sea. You can barely see Dead Sea over there on the horizon. And it was on a plateau surrounded by cliff all around. That was all natural. And so out of his own paranoia, Herod wants a safe place. So he found this place and said, I'll build my fortress and palace on top. And you can see up here, that is the northern, the highest point of the whole plateau is right there. He built his North Palace on there. This is from the top level looking down at the second level and the third level down here. There's a stair that could go down, but it was very steep and we didn't have time to climb down. So besides all, he has all the luxury of Rome, but later on, 70 AD, so it's like about almost 80 years after Herod died, Jews revolted, Romans came in and destroyed Jerusalem. Some Jewish zealots fled and came to the desert and took over this place. So it took Romans tried to conquer it. It's that kind of hard, difficult to get into. Eventually, they raised a legion, 8,000 people, and lay siege for 3 or 4 months. And they built ramp up there and eventually took this fortress. And at the end, all the Jewish defenders committed suicide, rather been captured as slaves. So now modern day Jewish army at the swearing ceremony, always at the end says, Masada shall not fall again. And occasionally some unit of the Jewish, I guess called Israeli Defense Force, came here to do their swear-in ceremony. So this is one of the fortress on top. And of course, we had visitors, took the cable car to top. More photos, another photo, cable car from below. And you can see there's a hiking path zigzagging around somewhere there, and then eventually end up at the top. I think it was like, I don't know, it was a 2 or 3 hours hike, depending, on weather. Near the top, this is the other side. It's not the same. This is on the east side of the fortress. This is on the west side of the fortress. There's also another stair, somewhat more steep to climb up there. And all in distance to the west, that was a Roman encampment. It's very rectangular shape. I think there were more. If looking from the peak there, we can see, so I think like 2 or 3 of these encampments where the Roman legion stay while they put the fortress in siege. This is another fortress. You can see, looking at the east is not as rugged as looking west. And it's kind of the plain below is flat, and it's Dead Sea, and beyond is Jordan and it's mountain distance. So that was today's lesson. At the end, we have earthly government and kingdom of heaven. That's what today's lesson covers. Earthly government may be tyrannical or even evil, but Jesus always say, the kingdom of heaven is like, okay, that was mentioned 11 times in Matthew. It's very different than earthly. And especially on Sermon on the Mount, Jesus started the Beatitudes, says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for there is the kingdom of heaven. And ended after of all the 8 blessings. The last one was, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for there is the kingdom of heaven. So not exactly the same text, different translation. So those are the 8 blessings, start and end with kingdom of heaven. And also in the Beatitude, in chapter 6, near the end, right? 33, verse 33, it says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these will be given to you. And at the end, Jesus teaches us to pray. Is the prayer include, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So kingdom of heaven is very different than what we have here. We're glad today we live in, democratic society. We don't worry about government being evil, but there are still a lot of corrupt, tyrannical, even evil governments on earth. But we, most of all, is the citizen of the kingdom of heaven. So that is the lesson for today. Any